We're never going to handle the start of a video like news anchors in a professional studio ever.
No, probably
Hello.
not. That what's the fun in that? What's the fun in being
Now, I
newscastery when you're not a newscaster?
I completely agree. It's fun because like when I do the video edits, I get to see all the fun.
How
It,
ridiculous we are.
it always makes me laugh.
I'm so glad. I'm glad that's what it makes you do.
Yes. I don't cry.
That's good. You're not like, oh Lord, what have I gotten myself into?
Right. Yeah,
That's
exactly.
good. That's good. I'm
So,
happy to hear that.
so how's your day going?
My day is going awesome. I have as you know, we have our own servers, and we were on vacation last week. We're on vacation next week, but our server guy got our our remote tech team got the weeks mixed up, so I don't have email today so far.
Nice.
So that'll be interesting to get email. Um, Hi Renee, to get email um, after I've probably had 12 hours of not receiving any email. So I have certain times of day that I'll go in and just like catch up on things and whatever. So it'll be later. But other than that,
Yeah.
awesome. I had a great workout. I had a great writing session. Karen, I just heard your message and I didn't even have a chance to reply. How my day is going is awesome. So you can hear it here first. She sent me a message and I didn't even have time to respond to it before we hopped on. I had a great French lesson.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
I almost had a
So
great French lesson.
you almost had a great French lesson. You did. And then we recorded a video, and then I had an EBM coaching session with one of my favorite EBMers, which, spoiler alert, you're all my favorite, every one of you. So yeah, just so far so good. I'm doing interviews for the new course for this book, which
Dun,
is up
dun,
for
dun.
pre-sale. So the pre-sale course, the pre-sale on the course is live, and I'm doing interviews for that. How's your day going? What have you been? Have you been equally as productive and fabulous today?
I don't know if I can say equally productive, but it's been productive. So,
I figured when you didn't respond to my Voxer that you were probably writing fiction, to which I was infinitely jealous because I just haven't gotten there yet. It's on my
mm,
list and I just haven't gotten back to it yet. And it's there. It's right there, Lucas.
yeah, well, I wish I had been writing fiction this
Hmm.
morning, but I used to try and do my fiction writing in the morning, but what I found was I was so distracted by all the things I needed to, like my mandatory work things, right?
Right?
Like responding to a client or, having a conversation with someone or all the things, just
Yeah.
all the things. So I found the thing that kind of works best for me is if I spend the morning knocking all that stuff out and then I cut the world off in the afternoon for like 2 to 3 hours and I write.
Mm.
Yeah,
You and I are different in that you're smarter. Let's start with that. And then also,
that's not true.
um, you also have you're like Byron. Like you get warmed up the further into the day you go, the more you do.
Mm.
But I was up at 10 minutes to 4. And so by the time I get to that cut off the world point in the afternoon, I'm also like a cooked piece of pasta. I'm just like, so the thought and I'm gonna have to think about it because this is just a belief, right? This is a
Mm.
belief I have. It's a belief I have that I have all this stuff that I do, and then I don't have any creativity left in my well at the end of the day. Maybe I need to revisit that and see if that's a belief I want to continue to have.
Yeah, I don't know if I'd mess with that. Thank you, Karen. Karen, definitely posting that one on the screen.
Okay, so I have a lot of checks to send out today. Lucas gets a check, Kent gets a check, Karen gets a check, all the checks in
You
the
notice she didn't
mail.
say he's cute. He's cute. And this is an editor, so I know she's choosing her words
Right? There's
very
no
carefully.
typo there. There's no, well, thank you. Thank you, Miss Karen.
That's how we know that this statement is true. Because
Oh,
it's fact, because it's written
shouldn't
factually.
LOL be all caps though?
I am not going to be the one to point that out right now, because
She can't cut either one of us because she's not here. So we're safe. We're safe. We can make the suggestion behind the camera, which is what a lot of people do, right? They do all their criticism. Oh, that's funny. Shouldn't nope be capitalized?
she's going to write nope again exactly how
Nope.
she did
That's
it.
right. Nope. Nope.
Yeah, I wouldn't, well, I mean, we're talking about our morning routine a little bit, or our daily routine, which actually goes
Yeah.
in, it was
Yeah.
not a planned part of the productivity conversation, but it's
No.
absolutely a part
No.
of it, right?
No. Yes.
I, I think because of my time in the military, I was made to do it both ways. Before the military, I was a night owl because my work was at night and because I was in music. So much like Byron, I lived
Yeah.
in an entertainment world where everything
Yeah.
happens in the dark.
Right.
So I can do that. But I actually am a morning person. Like when I wake up, I'm like, whew, my brain just comes full
Mine
on.
too. I don't have any. My mother used to say you were not just sleeping. She would like leave me at the baby with the babysitter or something, and I'd pop up and go, "Hi, mom. How was your evening?" And she's like, "I told you to go to sleep." And I was like, "I really was sleeping." She thought that I was just still awake, and it's like, if I'm asleep and I wake up, I'm awake. Let's go.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep. So I woke
But
up
do you
super early.
disco? What do you do then? Because you can't be a morning person and a night owl, or can you? Because I do get messages from you at all hours. So I don't think you actually sleep. I think you're a vampire who is like battery powered or something.
Well, I again, military taught me that we're all creatures of routine. Once you get into a groove, it's best to stay in that groove, right? So it's like because you
Yeah.
refine what you're doing
Yeah.
and you find effectiveness and efficiencies and all those things. And they do a good job of controlling that. But what you learn over time, I think, is how to control that for yourself. And if you're disciplined enough, you can do that, which, by the way, I think is one of your superpowers, is that you have tremendous discipline with your routine. Because even though you're living in a house with someone who has an opposite schedule, you
Yeah.
stick to what you have,
Yeah.
right? And yeah, there's Karen. We have a serious morning
Karen
person.
brings new meaning to the word morning person
Oh my
because
gosh, she's up at like
she's
three
up
o'clock in the
when
morning.
she's up before people in Paris.
Yeah, she, which by the way works out really well for late afternoon to night writers because when I send that email to her and I go to sleep, half the time I wake up and the files in my inbox when I wake up, it's unbelievable.
Yeah.
It's almost like having an editor on the other side of the planet.
I was gonna say it's almost like she's in Thailand.
Oh my God, it's crazy. So,
Yeah.
anyways, I can do both. I'm most productive first thing in the morning,
Yeah.
but when it comes to what my mental barriers are for writing fiction, because I have to be creative, I can't be distracted by the other things. So I have this
Mm-hmm.
hang up where I'm like, I have obligations. And if I don't get those obligations done, I feel like I can't concentrate. So I
Oh.
will do that first just so I can kind of breathe a little bit and not feel pressured when I'm writing my fiction in the afternoon. But with that being said, because I have three kids and they are outnumbering us at this point, and they're now teenagers, their schedules are kind of driving my schedule a little bit because, I have to have hands-on like accountability. And Tammy is like, she's like you. She's like in her groove and you can't mess with that groove or it really throws her off. So she she's like, I'm out, I'm going to bed. And sometimes that means I'm staying up for 4 or 5 hours with the kids just to make sure that
Oh.
like they're round up, they're getting in bed, there's like things are happening. Because otherwise they'll just run roughshod and I don't know what'll happen to the town of Williamsburg. Like they'll just like
Right.
take over.
Yeah.
So,
Well, definitely Byron has the night shift and I have the morning. when it comes to, we have just furries at this point, but it's
Right.
definitely it's a team effort and everybody has their shift.
Right.
And yeah, when you've got people children, you have to, it's not a, well, maybe I'll go to bed and hope that it ends well.
That's right. So yeah, I mean that's a little bit of what's been going on with me. But this morning I was able to spend time going through proofreading. So all the
Nice.
proofreads, yeah, I've had to do multiple waves of the proofreading response that I had for course pricing strategies.
Yeah.
So I went through one time and then I left a lot of things unresolved. I like take all the low hanging fruit first.
Mm-hmm.
So all the grammar and the
Yeah.
punctuation, all that stuff, I go through that all round one, and then I come back to it with the more thought-provoking questions like, "Hey, maybe you should consider a bend here," or I think you should consider like something even as simple as, and it's structural in the book, like having subtitles for chapters. Do you really want that in the table of contents or not?
Sure.
So those kinds of things, I'm
No.
like, I want to be able to think about that, right? Well, big pat on the back for Honore because yours are always so clean, and I love that you have one level of table of contents, right? So it's like single level. Oh, wrong page. Single level. Engineer who's been living in textbooks for forever is
Yeah.
like, oh, we should have like four levels, and it's like, no, actually, it's not what you want. So I've
I
been
like
with,
to keep things clean and simple and short and sweet, and not everybody loves that, but a lot of people do, so I'll take it.
yeah. So
Yeah.
here I am with my two levels, right?
Also
But
good.
but I can't go past two levels. The monetize
It's
your
your
book with a
book.
course.
You can do whatever you want. It's your
Right.
book.
Yeah. And I love that your advice was like, hey, make sure you write a book you're going to be happy with 10 years from now because you're going to be
Yep.
living with that book. And
Yep.
if I had gone more than two levels, I would drive myself nuts. But in course pricing strategies, I only have one chapter that goes beyond one level, which created a little bit of a conflict for me. It's like,
Oh.
oh, do I really want to leave it that way? It's only one of the chapters. So the answer is no, I'm going to make it single. So, Catherine, if you're watching this, thank you.
Catherine is our proofreader.
Yes. So, what are you reading these days? You got a book been beating you up?
What am I reading? What am I reading? I have a fiction book that I'm reading, and it is by Brandon Webb and John David Mann. Hold on, I'm gonna have to look it up because I wanna say the title correctly. It's the third in a thriller series, and I get to see John David Mann next week. So I wanted to have the book Blind Fear. I wanted to have the book freshly read. I am reading Think and Grow Rich in French.
Oh,
And I am rereading Dan Kennedy's version of Psycho-Cybernetics, which I read all three versions of that book every year.
all three versions every year.
Yeah. You said that like
Okay.
it's a problem.
I could see like a version a year.
Well, so I guess I now need to explain myself. I feel judged right now.
Sure. I won't agree to the judging
I feel judged.
accusation.
I feel judged
Allegedly
right now.
judged.
Allegedly, I'm allegedly judged. Where's Brittany? Where's Brittany? Judge Brittany, come in.
Yeah.
So there's the original version by Dr. Maxwell Maltz, who was a plastic surgeon from New
Whoa.
York, dual. And
Whoa.
so he wrote the
Proud.
original Psycho-Cybernetics. And then a gentleman named Dan Kennedy, who's a prolific writer, did the new Psycho-Cybernetics. So I read that book. I have it in audio also. And then a man named Matt Fury took over the franchise and bought the Psycho-Cybernetics brand, whatever, from Dan. And so he has a version. So Dr. Maltz from his perspective, Dan Kennedy from his, and Matt Fury from his. And I find value from the original text, which was then bougied up, right? So I have like a fancy leather version of it
Hmm.
with some updating from before Dr. Maltz died, and passed it on to Dan Kennedy, and then passing it on to Matt. So that's probably more information than you needed to know, but I like to review certain books every year. So that's what I'm doing.
Well, now I feel kind of guilty because my annual reread is The Tale of Two Cities, which failed the library test.
Also, also judged. Also judged. Everyone I tried to read it, I did. You know what? I think I'm spoiled. I think I'm like a lot of people in that I'm used to getting what I want right now. That's one of my problems. One of my other problems is that if something doesn't grab me right out of the gate, it's not like this is an assigned read or I have to read it or I get in trouble or anything like that. So if a book doesn't get me right out of the gate, and when I have the ability to start a new book and I'm in the mindset, my to be read pile, digital and actual, are huge. So when I have a minute to start a new book, the book really has to get me. I have to really try to get into it. Or I have to not try to get into it. It has to just get me. I have to pick it up and start reading, and it's got to grab me for me to make time to read it, because time is so precious. And The Tale of Two Cities did not
grab.
It didn't get me right away. Now I'm sure it's like anything else that is much beloved. If I had given it a chance and had stayed in it for more than a minute, then I probably would have enjoyed it immensely, and I would be less dumb. But I'd probably have a little literature under my collar, but nevertheless.
Excellent.
Nevertheless.
Yeah, I'm in this weird spot right now where I'm still digesting. So I bought Get Your Book Selling on Kickstarter.
Okay.
So I'm trying to get into that. I haven't really given it a fair start. So I like picked it up and I'm like, oh, I'm gonna start reading this. And I started reading it, and then I was like, oh, I have to go do this other thing. And
Right.
then I've just been distracted. So I've really been like putting it on my top of my list. So for those that don't know, Honore and I religiously read both fiction and nonfiction. And on the nonfiction front, this has been my book I've been trying to finish. But part of that's because I'm also stuck in an audiobook right now in the nonfiction space. So my time
What is it?
is being pulled kind of in multiple directions. And there's 4 books in my head right now. And I'm getting, where's my,
Always.
I know it's so crazy. Where's my Audible file? Here we go. I read a really, really good, well, Profit First is the one I'm listening to now.
Okay.
So,
Mishalowitz.
right. Yeah. And what a great audiobook, right? Because he really does record that audiobook kind of like he's reading the book, but then he takes breaks from reading to just talk, which I found
I
fascinating.
like books like that. The most recent one I read like that is 10x is Better Than 2x by Dr. Ben Hardy, and I can see his face. It's not going to come to me right now, so look it up. 10x is Better Than 2x.
I've
Dan
got
Sullivan. Dan Sullivan. And at the end of every chapter, they had a discussion that wasn't in the book, wasn't in the printed version. So I think it's fantastic. I love it when that happens.
Yeah, he'll stop and he'll say, "Hey, look, I want to just talk about this for a minute," and he'll add some new anecdote, yeah, or some something,
Yeah.
a story, something that's not in the book, and then he's like,
Nice.
"Okay, I'm gonna get right back to the book now."
Nice.
So,
You know
pretty
what
cool.
we're doing too, though, is we're also writing books, and so that takes up mental space as well. So,
Right.
what are you writing?
Well, in my nonfiction, I'm putting the finishing touches on course pricing strategies.
Yep.
So, and I've started the outline for my next nonfiction book, Heads Up, Karen Hunsanger, which I want to publish sometime early next year, early spring. And that one's course marketing. So
Yeah.
I started taking the outline and building that out for the course marketing book, which
Hmm.
is basically going to pick up where the other two books said, "Hey, I don't want to get too far into marketing,"
Hmm.
right? Like
Hmm. Hmm.
that's going to be a separate thing.
Hmm.
And then on the fiction side, I'm 7 chapters into my novella. So
Novella.
novella,
Novella.
which I'm absolutely in love with this story, but um, it's pretty awesome. It's pretty intense, but it's been such a joy to be able to do both. So, as
Yeah,
I know you know.
I know. Sort of. I mean, I sort of know.
Well, you do. You're writing fiction.
I am.
We'll talk about that some other time.
Okay.
Because I know you have to get that look.
Let's talk about being high performance.
Yeah. Let's do that.
Yeah.
So, yeah, when you sent this topic idea over, I was like, oh, it's so good because it really is one of those things. Like, if you're going to, I mean, there's so many self-help books, and there's like you could literally spend all day trying to learn and all the things about like how can I be a better performer. But I think it all comes down to like there's some real fundamentals that if you kind of think through them
Yep.
and how you're applying them in your life, it really can make like a night or day difference, right?
Yes. Yes. I think being high performance for me is an absolute necessity for me to get done everything that I want to get done. And I
Right.
have to make choices. Um, Today, I have to make choices for future honore
Hmm.
because future honore is super pissed when I make bad choices, like staying up past my bedtime, right? Like
Right.
eating something that is not in alignment or out of congruency with my goals. So although in that moment it tastes good, it's more fun. I have instant gratification. I'm paying the price over time for by not being able to do what's on my list of things to do. And there's
Right.
nowhere someone said, "Oh, I'm not I was having lunch with someone and he's like, "Don't worry, I'm not contagious." And I was like, "Don't worry, like being sick is not on my calendar." Right? There nowhere on my schedule is there a break for this, that, or the other thing, right?
Hmm.
I have a schedule, and I'm not a machine, I'm a human, so I have time on my schedule that is reserved for doing nothing,
Hmm.
right? Which is not commonly known, but I do have a lot of time built in for breaks and those sorts of things, and I think that's important to talk about also.
Yeah.
Um,
Huge.
but yeah, but what's being high performance for you?
I would have had a hard time putting my finger on this early as an entrepreneur. I feel like at that point I was still defining performance as like almost strictly achievement based, but
Mm,
what I considered achievements was different than I what I consider now an achievement. I think back then it was like you have to like record X numbers of videos or write X numbers of chapters. It
yeah,
was always like some work milestone that was an achievement. I wasn't considering 7 hours of sleep a night an achievement. I wasn't considering
yeah,
maintaining my intermittent fasting or my fitness. And the crazy part is I was always super consistent with my fitness. Like I prioritized that. And what I realized was like my if I am living a life, whether it be my personal or my professional, or the congruence of both of them actually is what creates my performance, right? So when
yep,
do I perform my best? Not just when do I perform. And I think that was like a big shift for me is like I can get all these things done, I can do all these things, but am I doing them my best? Am I sacrificing too much to get that done?
yep,
And if you're sacrificing too much to achieve, then you're not actually performing well. You're just
right,
performing. And that was
right,
like that's kind of where I needed to like change the dial setting, right? It was less about
mhm,
like can I do all of these really aggressive goals and then call myself successful in the end? But are you really successful when you're exhausted, unhealthy? And of course, my
No,
age caught up to me a little bit. I mean, no one really likes to admit that, but
I don't know
you
what
know,
you're talking about.
so there I am, 43 years old, sitting in the emergency room, and then having to call my friends and say, "Hey, don't worry, I'm getting checked out because I'm having chest pain." And it's like, what is
Lucas.
happening? And
Yeah.
that's not there's no real good quality of life in that, and it's not a good
Mm.
quality business. So to me, performance kind of changed over the years when I was sacrificing more than I probably should to
Mhm.
achieve. That I realized I was performing, but I wasn't performing exceptionally.
And there's such a difference.
Yeah.
There's such a difference when you're feeling fierce and productive and prolific and like you're making a difference and you're seeing the in the way that we measure, right? The
Mhm.
numbers stack up. So whether it's money
Yep.
or words or something like that. But also for me, I would be remiss if I did not mention Mr. Pickles,
Yeah.
who came up on my phone today because I have my photos, and we lost Mr. Pickles. And for the last year of his life, not quite a year, but pretty close, he was a kidney cat. So we were giving him fluids, first once a week, then twice, then three times. And finally, toward the last part of his life, it was every day we were giving him fluids. And so you either take him to the vet or you do it yourself. And Byron and I eventually decided it was too stressful for him to go to the vet. And so all the things that went into the daily Pickles care were giving him his fluids and putting the stuff on his ear so he'd eat, like increasing his appetite and cleaning his paw because he had an infection on his paw. And all of that took a tremendous amount of time. And if you don't have, if you are not high performance in your enterprise, in your empire, and you are not highly profitable, when you have the opportunity, because I don't consider it anything other than an opportunity to be present for something or
Mhm.
someone who needs you in the moment that you need them. That is an opportunity and an honor to do that. If when you have that, you can't step away because you haven't engineered circumstances, your self-image, your self-confidence, your brand, if you haven't managed all of those things, when it comes time for one of your three kids to need something or for Tammy to need something and you go, I legitimately can't step away from this
Mm.
because we're not set up to win, we aren't high performance, I'm not high performance, then it's like getting on the airplane and they say, put the mask on yourself first before you can put it on someone else. When I had the opportunity to give Mr. Pickles extra care, I was like, I don't care about my book deadline. I don't care about all the other things. Like the things that absolutely have to get done, I'm gonna do the critical inch things that have to get done. And everything else is just gonna have to wait because this is the most important thing that's in my life. And this is just a, a minute example or a small example of all of the things. So when someone says, well, I want to be highly profitable, a lot of people are going to watch this and go, I want to be highly profitable. So I want to be high performance and help me to hack that. Help me to be high performance. Okay. We're
Mhm.
going to talk about that for sure. But it's also going to allow you at a moment when you need it, when you need extra rest or you need to turn your attention to something else, it's going to allow that opportunity.
Right. Yeah, I mean, how can you possibly this is something I learned in the mastermind because I never had exposure to like money mindset type work or any of that before joining EBM. Um, I mean, everyone that I had worked with in the past, in the service, out of the service, focus, execution, getting things done the right way. We didn't worry about money. We didn't have money to worry about. Like that wasn't we were not
Right.
profitable things, right? We were government agencies. So we didn't worry about generating a profit. So there was none of that. It was more about like focus on executing these things. So that would in turn bleed into our success. And once I entered the world of entrepreneurship and I had to worry about putting money in the bank to put food on the table,
Yep.
I put too much weight on the importance of money because that was the thing I was worried about. I didn't have an unhealthy relationship with money or concern, but I was giving it too much credit in my decision making. And what I was giving it too
Mm,
much of was way too much leverage in prioritizing my work. So I started thinking,
mm.
like I have to sell, I have to do this, I have to do that.
Yep.
And what it was doing was it was causing me to change the way I was interacting with people on like kind of subconsciously. I wasn't at my best. Stack on top of that, that I'm now tired because I'm not sleeping well because I'm working longer hours than I should.
Mhm.
And I'm putting off an energy that no one really wants to be around, even when I feel like it's decent. It's not really like as good as it should be. And so it was damaging my ability to generate profit. So by
Yeah.
getting a grasp on like how balanced my life is, I actually increased my profitability, right? To your
Right.
point, like, hey
Yeah.
man, if you're, what does it mean to be performing? Well, if you're the kind of person that's looking at your revenue streams, like every good business owner does, and saying, well, we're either healthy or we're not based on whether we're making a profit or not. Well, how does straining that profit solve your problem? It doesn't.
Right. And you're the goose that lays the golden egg or not.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you have
Yep.
to and it is okay to be, this is what I say to Byron all the time. This is my story, right? Is that it's okay to be high maintenance if you're high performance.
Right.
And being high performance means there is a significant amount of maintenance that goes into your self-care. And as I was
Mhm.
talking to Olivia Lovejoy yesterday, she's a registered nurse and her story is in this book, right? Your first nonfiction book. I was interviewing her yesterday for the course that I'm creating on that same book. And she was saying that as a nurse, it's very often you're going to go hours and hours and hours without food or water or rest. You're going to be on your feet and you're bustling constantly. And so she wrote a book about self-care for nurses, but she said not in the, my words, floofy ways that we think about self-care, not mani-pedi Botox massage, right? More, are you getting enough rest? Are you taking care of yourself? Are you nourishing your body? Are you hydrating your body? Are you meditating? And I can see when people are not taking excellent care of themselves. And of course, as I have one finger going out, I've got three coming back. I can see when I'm not taking excellent care of myself.
Right.
And I have lived the correlation between being high performance. And that's why I am so consistent. You always say consistency is my superpower, but I have seen what happens when I am not consistent. When I'm not consistent, I don't produce, I'm
Right.
not prolific, I'm not productive. And, you know, and there's a gradual decline of everything that's important, up to and including being able to just be present when the opportunity presents itself and I need to realign my focus.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that was one of the things that I prioritized when I left the service. I said, I'm not leaving this service to just stay away from my family, right? Like one of the reasons I'm going home is so I can see them more because of my
Right.
deployment schedules were so busy. And then when I was in a land-based job, I had these really kind of,
Land-based job.
yeah, when I was in a
I've
job
always
on,
had one of those.
when I was in a job on land, it was like high profile, high stress,
Yeah.
big investment, personal investment, time investments, energy investments, those things like that. So when I retired, I said, look, it would be an absolute shame if I were to leave that environment, have an opportunity to hit the reset button and not do it. But I also put on this tremendous goal of starting a successful small business, which how do you really understand what that's going to be like until you do it, right? So you can you can read any book you want, but you got to go out there and do it, right? And
Yeah.
in many ways, I made it harder on myself than I needed to.
Mm,
But I never lost sight of the priority that I had of like making sure that my kids could see both hard work and time with them because I didn't want them to see dad working from home and and lose their appreciation for what real hard work kind of looks like. I wanted to use that opportunity to show them what hard work looks like,
Right.
but also got to put a cap on it so that, you know, Saturday night sleepovers are non-negotiable, right? That's a Saturday night sleepover.
Right.
Um, Going to the kids' shows, doing all those things. Now, people would say, what does that have to do with performance in your work? Well, if my family life isn't healthy, how can my work life be healthy? And if I
Right.
sacrifice one for the other, by the time this one really works well, that one will be hard to recover. And in
If
the end,
if possible. If
yeah,
possible at
if
all.
even
If
possible.
possible at all.
I mean, that's not a good balance, and that's not really what I would consider a successful life. And it wouldn't be me performing to my tops. Would I be a successful business person? Sure. But would I sacrifice some of that to have both, to have a really good family life and a strong business? Absolutely. So that was kind of one of the things I had to really wrap my head around. But I'm interested to get your perspective on something related to this, Honore,
Yeah.
because I feel like as we grow a business, the business obviously, the products grow, the number of obligations and things that we do sometimes grow,
Yep.
and we um, it becomes more challenging to manage the business itself. You and I've talked about having employees, not having employees,
Yep.
having VAs, not having VAs.
Yep.
And in almost every opportunity, we've talked about whether they've actually improved the business or not,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And but it's never just about the money, is it?
Never.
Yeah. So when you
It's never
decide,
about the money.
right?
Nope. It's never
So
about
when
the
you make the
money.
decisions to hire somebody, share work,
Mhm.
launch or not launch a project, like what kind of criteria do you go through in your head?
I I'm gonna back the truck way up
Okay.
because you're asking a fantastic question that has
Hmm.
some questions that have to be asked behind it,
Okay.
which is when I started Empire Builders, it was out of a conversation where somebody said to me, if you had a mastermind, I'd be in it. And I said, well, whatever for?
Hmm.
And she said, you have an empire. I want an empire. You own your empire. It doesn't own you.
Yeah.
And and all the decisions that I make, there are the three F's. There's fame, there's fortune, and there's freedom. And I prioritize freedom. Some people chase fame and they will sacrifice their freedom and their fortune to be famous. We've seen those people.
Yeah.
There are some people that will chase fortune and they will sacrifice their sometimes their fame, or their reputation. We can call that reputation. If being famous isn't your jam, but like your reputation, and there and in that bubble is your family, your relationships, right? So it's like, I'm rich, I don't need friends, I can buy friends. Okay, well, can you? I'm not sure. Um, but when you prioritize freedom, and freedom to me means I have the ability to say yes or no as I desire. So me and my empire are built on freedom. So when I say, do I want to hire someone, will they allow me to have more freedom? And will I allow them to have more freedom? So if working with me feeds somebody, that makes me happy. Does it allow them to have more freedom? Because I'm not a micromanager, right? I want to find the best
Right.
people at what they do, that love what they do, and I want to give them work and I want to pay them to do it so I can do what I do best. So there's a lot in that, but that's the question. So when I want to release a product or write a book, it's like, do I have the freedom to do it? Does it give me more freedom? Right? And so that's the thing that I measure. I could care less if anyone ever recognizes me. As a matter of fact, it makes me really uncomfortable,
Hmm.
um, in general. So I'm not seeking fame at all. And money's important because I think money allows you to do well from doing good. So it allows me to, again, have an opportunity when someone says, well, I have this thing, can you support this thing? I can say yes or no, right?
Right.
I'm a philanthropist, very small, but that's part of my work, is giving and giving back, right? Time, money, and talents. So I think I answered your question in a really long roundabout way. I'm a writer.
No, it actually it actually wasn't long. I would have made it much longer because I
Okay.
tend to ramble. So you did
All good.
great.
I did
You
great.
did
Thank
great.
you. Yes.
Yeah.
Perfect.
I love that you were able to boil it down to like one, priorities. Cause I mean, and this is something I'm huge about. It's like I'm okay with beating myself up about something because I'm very easy. Uh, I don't try to make excuses for myself. If I'm not succeeding, I know exactly why I'm not succeeding.
Yep.
And
Same.
I don't try to like beat around the bush and pass that off on someone
Right.
else.
We're not
I'm like,
passing the
I'm
buck.
not consistent enough, or I'm not focused enough on that task, or I haven't given this the appropriate time. Like, I'm okay with
Right.
doing that to myself. Um, but what I'm really saying when I do that is I didn't prioritize that thing. And
Yeah.
I feel like the prioritization of things in life, uh, particularly in our work lives, really says a lot about what we should be doing and what we shouldn't be doing. And oftentimes we prioritize things we shouldn't be doing over things that must be done. And
Right.
I think that's like a huge, like, if you can recognize that about yourself, you can eliminate a lot of the stress that's causing these problems
Right.
because you can easily identify the things that are interfering with your productivity and your success. And it took me a while to figure out how what was more important, right? Was recording 2 lessons for my course in the next 4 hours more important than writing my newsletter? Well, maybe the project I'm in love with right now is creating that course, and I'm like, I really want to record those videos, but what's the priority to my clients right now, the ones that exist, the people that are in my world, is the newsletter. So you have to kind of set your own like
Yep.
wants and desires aside for a minute. Both are equally important. One's
Yep.
going to be a product that's
Yep.
going to be sellable. The other one's communicating with your people. So really what it comes down to is which is a higher priority, your people or your product? And it's like,
Yeah.
oh, okay.
When
So
you
if I,
put it that way,
that's,
they're both action items, and they both seem to
yes.
be a technical decision, but one of
Yep.
them is actually an emotional slash technical decision.
Mhm.
Yep.
Yeah.
You
So
can
that
have a
was,
course, but if you don't have any people,
yeah. I mean,
nobody
so,
buys your course. So
and by
there's
the
a
way,
problem.
those people are probably already being served in some other way in your business by another course or a book
Right.
or your newsletter.
Right.
So if you're neglecting that routine thing, this is the consistency part, right? Like
Right.
if you're neglecting that thing you
Yep.
absolutely should be consistent with,
Yep.
um, that's a problem, right?
That is a problem.
If you're neglecting that. So anyways,
That is a problem.
when we talk about priority, and I think that's just such a huge thing that you mentioned, I think that is one of the key differentiators between whether I feel productive and successful or not is my ability to prioritize the things that actually matter in my business and not place the criteria for priority based on what I feel like I want to do or what I really wish I was doing right now.
Yeah. I think there's a direct line from being high performance to being highly profitable, because when you are high performance, there are the thoughts, feelings, and actions that go along with that. So when you are at your best, and by you, I mean you and me and anyone that's watching, when you are high performance, you are performing at your best. So you are your best and highest version of yourself in action, and it shows.
Hmm.
You feel great and it shows. You look great and it shows. Um, you're doing things that are great and it shows, right? People around you are attracted to people who are high performance. They want to know, right? Nobody studies the lowest earning, least playing player in the NFL. We all want to know what Tom Brady did,
Right.
right? We're all like, what does the GOAT do? What are the people who do the most? Like, I admire writers who write a book a month, like full-sized books every single month. I'm like, what are they doing? How do they do that? How are they churning out something that's quality, right? John
John,
Stongi, like,
John Stock.
what are they doing? What is their mindset? What are their activities? What are they thinking about? In order to be highly profitable, you have to be your very best And then you have to do certain things. You have to have the beliefs and the behaviors and the actions that draw that line to being highly profitable. So you have to do the RGA, the revenue generating activities. You can say, I just want to do this side of my business, right? You're like, I just want to write fiction,
Right.
but I don't want to do any fiction marketing. I don't want to learn fiction marketing. I don't want to learn anything about marketing, those sorts of things. I don't want to learn craft. There's some people who are like, well, I'm just going to throw it up there and see what happens. Like there's a whole school of thought, right, to market. And then there's I want to just write the book that I want to write. And of course, we know if you do any studying that the most successful authors, fiction or nonfiction, tend to be very consistent and persistent in their writing and their marketing.
Right.
And there's two sides of that coin, right? You just sent me an article from Written Word Media about, what do the small earning authors make and why versus what do the full-time authors make and why. When you get to the $10,000 a month level, you probably have more than 50 books and you're spending a significant number of hours marketing on a consistent basis. And that's if selling anything, that's selling services, that's selling courses, that's selling products,
Books, everything.
Books, courses, speaking, training, all the things, all of that require something to be created and then a conversation about it to be had.
Right.
And I think that most people get very hung up on what are the things that they have to do before they think about who do they need to be. And so high performance to me is me primarily. I'm primarily just worried about me being high performance, although as the mentor of EBM, I want everyone in the group to be high performance and try to model that. But if you are at your best, opportunities happen almost synergistically or synchronistically because you were open to the opportunity. And if you set yourself on fire, people are going to come from miles around to watch you burn. Right? My old mentor used to say that. If you are on fire for something, people are really interested in that. And if you're living in a negative state, right, or you're not living under a growth mindset, you're just going to have a harder time. And so I was thinking about, as we were talking about doing this topic, what it really comes down to, in addition to everything that I've said, is protecting certain things. You've got to protect your time. You've got to protect your productivity, and you have to protect your energy. And so I am able to go to bed early when Byron stays up late because I know I'm going to wake up early and I'm going to be full of ideas. And if I'm the least bit tired, if my batteries are low, for whatever reason, I am not as prolific and as productive. And it makes me cranky.
Well, it's a double whammy, right? It's like you're cranky because you didn't get enough rest, and then you're cranky because you can't produce at the right level.
Right. At the end of the day, my brain just says, we are done. And you owe it to yourself, anyone, you owe it to yourself to be the best version of yourself and to bring the best version of yourself to the world so that you can cross paths with those opportunities and therefore build something that is highly profitable that you love. Never want a cranky honoree. Who says that?
I'm going to guess that's Jen. Is it you, Jen? Oh, that's funny.
I'm not cranky. You're cranky. No.
I'm not cranky. So, you know what, though? Like you bring up, it's Helen.
Oh,
Yeah, there we go. I don't want a cranky Helen. She played professional volleyball. She'll
spike you.
Yeah, spike me right into the turf. I
can't be cranky around Helen. Helen is too delightful.
Yeah, you can't be cranky with Helen.
Yeah.
That's like psycho. That's like psychopath behavior if you're cranky to someone like Helen.
That's right.
That person can't be trusted.
That's right.
I'm gonna pick a scab that people just this drives me nuts because everything you said about having balance and being, protecting your energy, Okay. There you go. Is 100% like the real deal, right? It's like,
Yeah.
but then people use that as a filter, or not a filter. They use that as a mask. They're like, I'm going to use this to kind of lean into my laziness. And there's times when it's
Mhm.
when your body's really telling you, dude, you need a break, right?
Well, we
Like,
need to talk about that, but keep your thought. But we definitely need to talk about breaks and rest.
yeah, it's like you need to lean into a rest period. This is you're burning out. Like you have to understand how to like
Mhm.
recognize whether you're reaching your limits or not. All those things
Yep.
come with just being aware of yourself and how you work and when you're at your best and when you're not, and then not sacrificing and doing the right thing. But there are also people that will use that as a crutch. They're like, I really don't want to do this right now, or
Right.
being consistent's hard, so let's just step back and I need to create balance. And it's like, yes, but balance requires both enough performance to not sacrifice performance and enough rest to not sacrifice rest. And
Mhm.
to do it the right way, you don't necessarily fail in either side. And I think that's the big thing is like if you're using uh if you're just leaning into a desire and not necessarily a real need, and you're stepping away based on desire and not necessarily because you should or need to, you can hurt yourself. And I think that it's important for people to understand that. Like you're still committed to what you're doing, but you're committed to two things instead of one. You're committed to taking care of yourself and taking care of your business and not sacrificing one for the other. Right?
Right. Yes.
Am I
Yes.
am I explaining that clearly? I mean,
You are. Yes, you are. And so the first thing we do in EBM every year is fill out our breaks.
mhm.
When are you going to take vacation? When are you going to take a break from the work? Because let me look at my iPhone. My iPhone says 91% battery. At some point, if I don't charge it, it's going to say 0% battery and it just will not work. The same is true with you.
Mhm.
But you can't wait till your battery goes to zero because that's burnout. That's when you have illness. That's when you fracture relationships, right?
Right.
Because if you don't recharge if I just go, Byron, just fend for yourself for 3 to 6 months, right? That's not going to go over. That's not going to go over well. There are certain things that are important to nourish daily, making sure you're getting the right nourishment, sleep, hydration, food. For me, it's exercise, meditation, personal development, personal working on my person, on me,
Mm.
working on my relationships, very important. But then also working on my business. But here is a big challenge I think a lot of people have, and it's not a bad challenge. It's just a challenge, which is I love what I do.
Mhm.
Sometimes if I didn't have a stop, I wouldn't stop because I'm on a roll and I like it and I want to keep going. And I have to recognize, oh, it's 5 o'clock, it's 6 o'clock. Just shut the laptop. It's still going to be here tomorrow. Go downstairs, have a
Mm.
nice dinner, enjoy your husband, go do something fun. And I've built buffers around my work so that I'm not always working because I do love it. I do absolutely love everything that I do. Everyone I talk to, all the things make me very, very happy. And I also take off, I think, 16 weeks of vacation a year.
Did you say 16 weeks
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
of vacation?
Yeah. I take 4 weeks off between the middle of July and the middle of August.
Right.
Just that period of time. I've got 4 weeks around Christmas. I've got, a week and a half at Thanksgiving. Like I take an awful lot of time off that's not perceived. You and I are business partners. You didn't even know that.
well, well, yes. But I see you glow, see, because this is why I bring this question up because it works on both sides of the fence, right? Like you glow like I glow when we talk about writing. Like we love writing. Like I
Yeah.
love
Yeah.
writing. So it's like,
Yeah.
when I say I'm taking a break,
Yeah.
sometimes that's a different type of break than other people would take. Like I don't neglect something that makes me happy during that break either,
Nope.
right? So
Nope.
I
Nope.
think that's
I'm
part of the
still
problem.
I'm still working on a book, on a
Right.
fiction, on a nonfiction. I'm still working on the, like I have 3 or 4 nonfiction books in process. I have 80 fiction books in process. The
Right.
list keeps growing. Um, it's taking calculated breaks so that you never get to the point of, and I think this is the first thing to recognize, but then never to get back to there. Never get so overwhelmed, cranky, tired, hungry, thirsty, etc., that you damage something because you're so depleted.
Hmm.
That you damage yourself or someone else because you can't control what you're thinking or saying or doing. And don't be afraid to, and this is my set point. When I am cranky, you all would never know it because you just won't hear from me. Right? I just will go dark because I do work a lot and there are a lot of things. There's always something to do. There's always a deadline. There's always a demand. And so the important thing is to recognize that if you're not taking the regular breaks, if you're not stopping work at a certain time every day and you don't take
Mhm.
off a portion of the weekend or one day during the week or one evening a week or one week a month or whatever that looks like, if you're not doing that at some point, your battery will be zero and you'll be forced to take it off.
Mhm.
You just won't be able to function well. You can force it for a while.
Yeah.
If you go ahead and plan those, then you don't ever have to worry about damaging something that's critical. Because you'll never, it's like when my phone gets down to 70%, I charge it up. When my gas tank gets down to a third of a tank, I go fill it up. I'm not one of those people that's like, how many miles? I know exactly how many miles I can go before my car runs out of gas. It's like, please don't do that. That's stressful. And so if you're living in that area in your business, right? If you're worried about money, if you're worried about having enough clients and customers and sales, if you're worried about those things, then you're already at a stress level that needs to come down in order to be high performance, in order to be highly profitable.
Right.
All of that makes sense.
Hey, are you frozen on your screen or is it just me?
Nope, you're frozen. I'm not frozen.
Am I really frozen on your screen?
No.
Okay. Hold on one. I'm gonna flip you 1 second. Hold on one
Okay.
second.
Okay.
That is fun. There you are. Maybe I'm
No,
having some.
I'm not frozen.
Byron, wherever you are in the universe right now, I feel your pain, bro.
He's out. He's outside. He's doing
Yeah.
normal shit. Oh,
Thank you,
someone
Helen.
said we weren't frozen. We're
Yeah.
not frozen.
You
Okay.
were frozen on my screen, but you were moving on the left, and I'm like, oh, I can't tell if everyone else
What's
sees her frozen.
happening?
So I turned you off, and you came back. You were like, I'm like, now I really can't tell.
Now I'm having fun with you because it's fun. What we do is fun. It's meant to
You
be fun.
got me.
It's not meant to be stressful, even though sometimes it is stressful. But to me,
Right.
stress, not good stress necessarily, but the stress that we talk about, right?
Hmm.
The bad stress, the Facebook status we're not doing, that to me is an action signal that something either needs to stop or start.
Right.
And for me, I go back to my boxes. Have I eaten? Have I slept? Have I meditated? Have I exercised? Have I had a cup of tea? Have I had some water? Have I had a few minutes of sun? Have I been out on the front porch? If I go visit my dog, she's always happy. I know we're out of time. So, anyway, I just want to give people permission to nourish themselves, to be high performance, because then they will be highly magnetic and that will
Hmm.
make them highly profitable. I think sometimes people are like, I am going to be profitable.
Yes.
And it's like, okay, but I'm a little scared of you and you're scaring away the customers. So
Yeah.
go take a nap.
Yep. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And by the way, guys, if you have any questions, comments, anything, drop them in the chat. We'd love to spend a few minutes just, addressing the questions or
Yeah.
talking with you guys as we wrap up here. But there was something. Okay. How about you, Miss Honore?
What? Oh, I meant minutes, not questions.
Oh. It's like, okay.
Well, did I communicate clearly, Lucas? Did you?
Yeah, I've got you.
Okay. Okay.
And
I think you do a great job of it. Even though you
oh,
never stop working, I think you do a great job of balance.
well,
Because I do know that you're having fajitas on Friday, and you do have pasta night, and you do have
yes.
taco night,
Yep.
and you are spending time with your family, and you are going to the lake house, and so
Yeah.
I think that's really important. I think it's, it's
Well,
important to be a human being, not a human doing.
yeah, there was times when I felt guilty, like about those things.
What?
Yeah,
What?
which is crazy, right? It's like people are
Yeah.
like, "Hey, where are you? What are you doing?" And it's like, what do you need?" Like that's the question. It's never like I'm, enjoying time with my family. I won't embarrass myself by telling you this once. Well, yeah, well, okay. I took a call one time when I was in my doctorate from the university while I was getting on a roller coaster with my daughter. And it was like a kid's ride.
Yeah.
And
They're
like,
screaming.
so I'm like, whatever, this guy just needs to talk. I just need to listen. So I'll just
Yeah.
silence the microphone and we'll zip around this thing for a minute and then we'll be done. We get off the ride. And my daughter wants to see her picture on the roller coaster. Because, when you get off the roller coaster, there's a picture. And the lady says, how can I help you? And I said, well, we were looking for our picture. And she goes, oh, you can't have your picture on the screen. And I said, why not? She said, because we don't allow people that have their phones up on the ride to see pictures. And my daughter burned a hole in me with her eyes.
Did you have to take the ride again?
Oh, yeah, most definitely. It
Yeah.
was like, dude, I don't get my roller coaster picture because you decided to listen to a call. And I was like, what am
You
I
know,
doing?
here's the thing is, and if I could give people some year 30 advice very early in their career,
Yeah.
it's the we are trained for instant gratification, and we think we have to provide instant gratification. We always have to be available, we have to respond
Mhm.
instantly, we have to get back to people right away, but people will expect what you provide. So if you respond to an email at 4 in the morning or 8 o'clock on a Saturday night, then they will always assume that you're going to be available. And I recently engaged a new custom book client, and I just said, I'm just letting you know, like, we're signing this and we're getting started, and I'll do all this stuff, but I'm about to go on vacation for about a month, and I'm just letting you know. And the words were fantastic. He said, oh, I get it, you do you. He's like, you just let me know when I can talk to you. It's totally fine. It's all good. And I was like, that's fantastic. But most people would have been like, thank you for that wire transfer. Here is my cell phone number. Here is my blood type. Here.
Here's my social security number.
Well, but I mean, I'll drive you to the airport if you'd like. I will fill up your car with gas. Like, has nothing to do. And if I could give people some of the insight, it's that you decide how you want it.
Mm-hmm.
You decide how you want it, and that's how you communicate it. And the right people are going to be respectful of that, and they're
Right.
going to appreciate that, and they're going to be attracted to that. So when you are in that energy of, I got to do everything all the time and make everyone happy all the time and do all of that, that's actually not attractive. That's actually something that's repulsive. It repels people as opposed to attracting people.
Mm.
And what you want is for people to say, that is so attractive. How am I around that? I want to do anything to be around that. I want to learn from that. I want to gather from that. And I also want you to be my person who handles that for me. And I remember thinking for a long time, and I'll end with this. I remember thinking for a long time that realtors worked all the time, 7 days a week. Like, you have to be available when your clients are available to go see houses. And when I did 15 Secrets Highly Successful Real Estate Agents Know About Time Management with Kevin Cruz, I interviewed top agents.
Mm.
And not one of them worked evenings or weekends or holidays. Not one of them.
Really?
Really? And I was like, okay, what's happening right now? And they said, we do business during business hours like business people. Like, no houses are being shown at 9 o'clock at night. We're not getting mortgage loans at 9 o'clock at night. We can go see a house at 5 or 5:30, but we're not, you need to go home and have dinner, and so do I. You need to go to your kid's baseball game, and so do I. So we can schedule an appointment to go see a house during business hours, during business days. And I was like, shut the front door. I totally would have become a real estate agent if I could have thought. But it was all the successful people. The unsuccessful people, the scramblers, the people that are hobbyists, not professionals, are doing it whenever. I'm at your beck and call. I'll do whatever you want whenever you want. It's like, this isn't pizza delivery, right?
Right.
You're a professional. And so professionals work during business hours, and they also take weekends, evenings, and holidays off, and they take vacation. They summer in the Hamptons. They have, they go on vacations, and they don't take their phone or their computer unless they're writers, and that's okay.
It's because you have to breathe.
Yeah.
If I can't write, I can't breathe.
Right. Yeah. Yep. That's right. So
I love
anyway, I hope that's helpful. We've gone over quite a bit, but
it's very helpful. And you just blew my mind with the real estate agent example, because I had no clue. And I've worked with
every single, they were all 1%ers. They were all 1%ers, all top of their game. And they all said, I do business during business hours during the week, with very little exception, and by appointment and in advance. None of this, hi, I'd like to come see a house. Now, the business building phase is a little different from being at the top of the mountain, right? Open houses and things like that, getting new clients, building your book of business. The building phase of your business is always tougher, costs more, takes longer, is harder than you ever possibly would imagine. But as soon as possible, you put those boundaries around your business.
Right.
And the sooner you put the boundaries around your business, and you get to the point where you're like, I'm going to say yes when I want to say yes and no when I want to say no, you will be more profitable faster than you ever thought possible. When you were trying to like freak out and ride a crazy roller coaster of emotion and get up all the business that you can, and you're in scarcity consciousness, you're not going to be successful. You're never going to be successful.
Yeah, people feel it.
Yes, they sure do.
And they're not going to be like, oh, you know what that makes me want to do? Give you all my money.
Right.
Right. That's not going to work.
Right.
It's not going to work.
No.
Yeah, I think the longer I've been in the training business, and the more confident I've been in it, and even my Thinkific profile is, I put a big statement on the bottom like, hey, this is the kind of work I do, and these are the types of clients I have, and these are this type of service. If this isn't right for you, then please.
That's okay.
That's okay.
Yeah, that's okay.
And wouldn't you know it, my requests for work went up. Way up. Yep. It was like, oh, look at that. They were like, oh, I can tell you have a way of doing business, and you're serious, and you're a professional, and that's how it works. And I went, huh.
It's interesting. It seems counterintuitive.
Yeah.
It seems counterintuitive that you put boundaries around something, and it makes you get more of what you want. But that's exactly when you can. The best time to get a deal, the best time to close a deal is right when you've closed a deal. So if you can get into second deal energy before you've closed the first deal, you will close the first deal, the second deal, the fifth deal, the 10th deal, and then you have a new problem. How are you going to handle all the deals?
Yeah. Which is like, we could talk about that in a future episode, like how to manage capacity, right? It's like,
right. Yes.
Holy
let's talk
smokes.
about that. Yeah. So speaking of breaks, I don't know if you're going to be around the next couple of weeks, but I'm not. I'm on vacation.
Yeah.
For the next 2 Thursdays. So we'll be back live again in mid-August, unless you're going to have a live without me.
I may surprise people. I have to get an answer back on an email.
Okay.
Yeah, because I had an idea of bringing a guest on. I'm not promising anything, so expect 2 weeks. But if something comes through, I'll actually have it earlier.
Nice. Let's see. So I'm going to celebrate my 15th wedding anniversary. So we'll be out on the 3rd and the 10th. We'll be back on the 17th of August.
That's right.
So enjoy your time without us.
That's right. And I hope you guys are taking some downtime. You don't have to plan it during the show's downtime. You
Right.
Plan,
You have your own
plan,
vacation schedule. Yeah.
yeah, plan it when you want.
Yeah.
um, but we appreciate you guys spending time with us today. We hope that this is helpful. Sometimes we like to have these uh, not product focused conversations because they can have
Yeah.
an even bigger impact on your business
Agreed.
than the ones on the products. Although people
Yep.
sometimes have a hard time with um, kind of looking inward. We've had a considerable amount of time to do that. There's times, when it's worked and when it hasn't, and it would
Yep.
be a shame to not learn lessons from your own work, and it's an even bigger shame to not share those with other people so you can try and help
Right.
um, people avoid the mistakes or even benefit from the good things that you do on a daily basis. So take this energy and roll it right back into your clients. Be willing to share with them all the great things that are going on in your business. And Honore, as always, thank you so much for being willing to share so much of your experience and your insight with us. Always tremendous.
Well, it's always so fun to hang out with you. This certainly doesn't feel like work, right?
No,
Nothing that we do, almost nothing that I do, it feels like work.
that's right.
Yeah.
And that's by design.
And that's by design. Yeah, that's for
right.
sure. Yeah.
Absolutely. All right, guys. Well, you know the deal. You can like, you can subscribe, you can go check out the podcast, which is live and doing very well, and we are putting out at least one episode a week. So we would love to see you guys over there. You can subscribe to the podcast, you can subscribe to the YouTube channel, and you can check us out here on all the social media platforms every Thursday live at noon, with the exception of the next two. So we'll see you guys in our next episode. Take it easy.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Helen and Renee and Karen. Thanks for popping in, and Jen. See you soon.